The issue that we're talking about is mental health. Normally when we're talking about health, we refer to our bodies, but there's another element of health which is hidden, which cannot be seen necessarily by people. Yes, sometimes it has side effects and it has aspects that manifest on the outer body, but generally speaking, mental health is something internal that a person personally will feel. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam give us cures for this issue. The first thing to remember is that when we're talking about mental health issues, there is always a way out. There is progress that can be made, and we should never ever despair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Yusuf, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. That do not despair from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for verily despairing in the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a sign of disbelief. And so we know that when we give up on our strengths and our abilities, we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should knock on the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we look at the stories of the prophets before that came, they all went through very difficult situations. And mental health issues can be triggered by a number of reasons. Most of them are worldly. They can be financial, it can be related to health and poor diet, it can be related to relationships, and those kinds of issues that can cause stress upon an individual and cause them to have anxiety, cause them to have sadness, cause them to have depression, and go through mental health issues. So when we look at the issues that are worldly, we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never do we hear of somebody suffering from mental health issues because they're praying too much, or because they've fasted too much, or they've read too much Quran, or they've given too much in charity, or they've gone on Hajj. So the aspects of worship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us do not cause us stress and despair. The affairs of the hereafter do not cause us to be in a state of depression, and they certainly shouldn't do so. So when we look at the reasons, it's worldly, and there is a way out from this world. And that is to make sure that we take steps and measures to avoid being in a situation that can cause stress upon our lives. And the first step in that is making sure that we reach out to those people around us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. We have professionals, we have imams, we have families, people that you can speak to and you can gain help from. Do not allow it to be a silent killer, something that affects you internally and you don't reach out. The world will try and pull you down. Do not allow it to. And this is the challenge, that we want to rise above the situation, not allow it to defeat us, but we are going to overcome it, inshallah. And when we look at some of the du'as that the Prophet ﷺ teaches, first of all, the du'a of Sayyidina Yunus alayhi salam, when he was in the whale, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin, declaring the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and saying, Oh Allah, verily there is nobody but you. And this is a declaration of dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, I only have you. And verily I have wronged myself. In other words, whatever issues that I am suffering from, I have earned them myself, and I have been a cause in some way whatsoever towards them, so release me from that. You save me from that. And the other dua of the Prophet ﷺ we find in Sahih al-Bukhari, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, wa a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal, wa a'udhu bika min ghalabati ad-dayni wa qahr al-rijal. Where the Prophet ﷺ makes a dua, and from part of this dua is, Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from sadness and from depression. And there's a beautiful saying of Imam Sari al-Sakhati, the great Imam of Tasawwuf. And what he says is that when you are in a state of desperation and you really want something, then behave like a child does with their parent. That if he doesn't get his way, he starts crying. And so when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you make dua and you don't feel like it's working, you don't feel as though the answers are coming, he says, cry at the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Raise your hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and cry and weep. And this expression is something that can help release this anxiety and this pressure that is inside. There's nothing wrong with crying. The Prophet ﷺ shed tears and he was the bravest of men ﷺ. And turning to people, there is nothing wrong with that either. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of our brothers and sisters in humanity around the world that are going through these difficult situations. And at this time with the COVID-19 situation, it is a time of a rise of mental health issues. People are locked in, they're isolated. One of the other things that helps in these kind of situations is being in the presence of nature. We have the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful. Hearing running water, hearing the sound of birds, hearing the rustling of leaves, these kinds of things relax and place us and allow us to ground ourselves within the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Too much interaction with television and entertainment and visual stimulations can sometimes create an anxiety within people because they're not in natural environments. We were created to live in nature, and this is how man has always lived. It is a recent phenomenon that we have surrounded ourselves in artificial, self-created environments. And so being out in nature, being in the presence of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that by the blessings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the blessings of this great month, that He allows us to be healthy physically, spiritually and mentally, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Jazakumullah khair for watching another episode of Ramadan Reflections. Please like, share and subscribe using the social media links below, and please pass on the message to others so that they can benefit and we are rewarded.